Hi, I'm Marty Grisani, and this is The Marty Grisani Show. As a full-time real estate investor and business owner, I have a real fascination of finding the key principles for business success and personal development. This show is a reflection of my personal mission to find out what truly makes somebody successful in business and in life. We will find tools and tactics that they've used to reach those levels. If you're the type of person who is not satisfied with average and you have a hunger for learning that will never cease, this show is for you. Welcome to the show.
All right. So what are you working on? What's the problem? Do you have a roof that you can't get your contractors to?
I can do, but I got a quote for $22,000 and I don't want to spend that much.
No, that's insane.
It's a gigantic roof though, dude.
Full
And
tear,
I got
obviously.
full tear off, like gutters, fascia, like it needs everything. This house is mint, but I don't want to spend, that's the most I've ever spent on a roof, ever.
Is that what you're hearing from a couple people, or is that just the one person?
That was just the one guy. My other guy that I usually use has been on vacation in Jamaica for a month, but he comes back tomorrow. So I don't know. We'll see. And then I had James go over. So we'll see what he says, but I'm sure it's not going to be much cheaper.
Yeah. Shout out to James Goff, great roofer. Yeah, it's tough. That's like the biggest challenge when we're looking at flips is that roof cost is just, it's bananas. And
It's literally 30% of my budget. 30% of my budget gone.
And you need it done. You know what I mean? It's like it needs to be done. I mean, oh my God, aren't flips the best when you walk up to a property and the roof's done?
Or you could just like you can do a quick re-roof and you're like good to go. You know?
Yeah. It's like if they done the roof, it's like they're like, yeah, no, there's 3 layers, and you're just like, dang it.
Yeah.
You just do the full tear for me. Because I mean the prices from 2019, 2020 to now are
they're not different. Yeah.
They're not
so different.
They're so different.
Yeah.
But that's one of the reasons why we've all pivoted, right? That's one of the reasons why there's been pivots made in your business. And that's really why I wanted to have you on, because, everyone knows you've been somebody who is a tried and true buy and holder. You've flipped houses, you've done some assignments, but really, buy and hold and flipping has been, was your bread and butter for, 5-6 years. You were able to leave your job, right? For those who don't know, this is Ben Antonucci, a really good friend of mine who is a mentor in a way. I mean, he really paved the way of going in, pivoting to commercial, self-storage, owns a bunch of storage facilities, owns a bunch of Airbnbs. But what he got really excited about, and this is what I wanted to have him on, is to talk about laundromats.
Yeah.
And why don't we start there? Well, I mean, first of all, why did you stop with buy and holds, and why laundromats? But maybe first, why did you stop buying your buy and holds?
Yeah. I mean, I think we've all experienced it with this city and with COVID, really put a damper on everything. So, I mean, that was my game, right? Was buy and hold. We were up to like 40 houses at one point. And it was going well before, 2019. It was great, right? That was the goal: buy and hold everything, get some appreciation over time, get some cash flow now to live off of. But then 2019, city of Rochester passed laws in the middle of the night that kind of screwed us, and it was still okay. And then COVID hit and was like, hey, you know what? You guys are going to take the hit and you're not going to be able to do anything about it. So, I mean, at that point, 2 years ago, I decided I either have to get a full-time maintenance guy because the turns were killing me. They cash flow on paper, and then you have a move out and you got to put 10 grand in it to turn it over. So it was either hire a full-time maintenance guy or find something else. And from there, I was like, you know what? It's probably not worth it anymore. It's such a headache dealing with tenants, dealing with all the bullshit that comes with it. Let's try to find something else. So from there, it was self-storage and laundromats was the goal. So kind of cash flow versus, equity built properties, and kind of mend them together and have both, cash flow right now and long-term holds and equity in the back end. So that was kind of our goal.
That's one of the big problems, was the COVID and the new laws that, New York State made, where it made evicting, for those who don't know, very made it a lot more difficult, a lot longer notices. Someone who lived there for longer than 2 years, you have to give them 90 days of notice. And then it's a bunch of just red tape of, you'd have to have something certified mail. So they have to receive the different notices. And there was a big push for the city of Rochester really having a budget in their, in the city budget for basically having attorneys to fight for the non-paying tenants through legal aid. So it was it's really tough. And, and money goes where it's treated the best. And if money isn't treated well in single family rentals, then you're going to look for other places to put capital, right? I mean, it's just, that's the way it works. And that means other states, Ben, you talk about why you started looking at other states and well, why don't we start with this? After you stopped buying single family houses, what did you do?
So after I stopped buying, I started looking for alternate investments, right? Because I mean, you got to have cash flow. You got to live. Now that I'm full-time doing this, it was something where you have to have money coming in or else you're not going to sustain. So I ended up joining Storage Rebellion group because I wanted to learn how to do self-storage, which is great. It's a great company. It's a great business, great group of guys. So if anybody wants to get into storage, SRU is the way to go. It's awesome. But started doing that, bought a couple deals. But it's just the cash flow on those are not nearly as high as what you see for single families or for residential in terms of how much money you're putting in, right? So you could buy a facility that's $1 million and it would cash flow $20,000-$30,000 a year, right? You could take $1 million and go buy real estate and buy residential stuff or, multifamily stuff. And that $1 million is going to stretch a lot further. So that's what I started seeing. Now, granted, you can still find great deals that cash flow well. Chris Lawrence is one of those people that do that. He crushes it. He finds great deals, but he puts a lot of time and money into trying to find those deals. I just unfortunately don't have that, having kids and a life at home. So
Ben has 5 kids, by the way.
Yeah, 5 kids. 5 kids. Literally hiding I'm hiding in my bedroom right now because I don't have an office yet. But yeah, so after that, it was like, okay, what else? What else can I get that cash flow without dealing with the headache as much? And for me, that was laundromats. Now, there is still a headache with that, right? Still a headache with that. But at some point, no matter what investment you're going to have, there's going to be some level of headache. You just got to figure out what you want to tolerate and who you want to tolerate. For me, it was I'd rather deal with machines than deal with tenants. And that's kind of why we pivoted.
I love that. I think it must be nice to be clear on what you wanted to do, right? Because there's so many things you can do in real estate. And, kudos to you. You dabbled and you've done them successfully. Storage, you've done successfully. The single family, you've done, flipping, you've done successfully. But, this is like a new thing where it's like, yeah, but I know what I want to do. I'm very clear now on what I want to accomplish. And I want more of a business where it's a transaction, really, instead of me being the punching bag. And being left holding the bag a lot of times, like it can be in residential, especially residential single family rentals. So let's talk about then the laundromat deal. Let's talk about it, soup to nuts. Where'd you find it? How'd you find it? How do you finance laundromats? How do you buy the equipment? Is it expensive? Is it not? Like what does that all look like?
So it's very expensive. That's one of the biggest hurdles with laundromats is that they cost a lot of money to get up and running if you're building from ground up, which is what I did. My thought was I didn't want to rent anything. A lot of people will go in and they'll rent a space and then put a laundromat in there. The problem with doing that is that you can't get your cash out. And being a real estate investor, I always look at, okay, how can I get my money in and how can I get my money out? Yeah. If I can keep all my money in my own pocket at the end of a refi at 6 months or a year, then essentially that building didn't cost me anything. And even if it makes no money, somebody else is still paying down my debt. That's made sense to me. But this building we bought was on the market. It was on the MLS. It was sitting. It used to be a restaurant. And it was in a prime location. There was not a laundromat within the area. We have been looking in that area for a while. And it came up and we're like, you know what, let's go for it. So I bought it. I 1031'd a couple rentals to purchase it. So I owned it and bought it outright. And I did the build out myself as well. So build out's tough. It's expensive as hell. Because of the amount of demand of utilities, you have to put a lot of money into utilities, obviously. So unlike a residential unit, my laundromat has 15 washing machines. 4 of them are 65 pounders. There's 3 of them that are 40 pounders. Because of that, it needs a lot of water, right? Yeah. So I had to upgrade my water line, which was 3/4 inch. I had to put a 2-inch water line in. It's not cheap to do that at all. And you have to work with the city to do it. And it's a pain in the ass and it takes months. I lucked out because in my side yard of my property, there was a brand new line put in like 3 years ago. So I didn't have to go across the road, which is much more. They have to cut the road, tie into the main. They have to shut the road down. And mine is on South Plymouth, which is a very busy street. It's right next to the street turnaround. So to do that, I mean, you're talking $40,000, $50,000 just to put a water line in. It is not cheap at all. So
did you look into that? Like, did you not know that before you bought it?
No idea. No idea. No idea. I had no idea. And he started, there's like 2 guys in the city of Rochester that do that kind of work. Advanced Piping is the one that I use. And I was talking to him and he's like, well, he's like, if it's going to be around 40 grand, I'm like, oh my God, I'm already over budget. Like, I'm like, what am I going to do? And then we were talking with the city and they're like, hey, there's a water line right there. I'm like, thank God. Like it saved me $30,000.
That is huge. And guys, by the way, Ben deserved this one. He deserved this win because if brutal. You know some of the other deals, just talk to him about some of them at a meetup. He'll be happy to tell you. But geez, you get to learn so much though when you go through those, right? I mean, that's really where you. Oh yeah. That's really the nuggets for the next deal where you can win and you can actually have a real budget together because you know what those things actually cost. And so there's you can't lose. It's just winning and learning, right? But God, you like to win a little bit more than learning sometimes.
But I did, like you said, I learned a ton from this one. Like when I went into that for a build out budget, I had no idea. I'm like, oh, plumbing would be like $5 grand. It can't be that much. I was so far off on that. But now the next one, I'm like, I know exactly how much this is going to cost me because I got to put a 2-inch water line in. I got to put a 2-inch gas line in. Everything's got to be 1.5 inch plumbing. I ran into that when I opened up. I had issues with my machines because I didn't have enough water going to them. It was a fiasco. But so,
what is that then? You bought, so you know how to buy the real estate, right? We know it's like that part you knew. This fits because you're like, I did my, the case study, or I looked around. There's not a lot of these laundromats around this area, and this is a prime location. A lot of that's a higher traffic count, probably people driving by it. They can see the sign. So like it's right on the road. The location matters obviously, but how do you finance the business side? Do you SBA that? Is that like, how would you do it again? Maybe would you do, or what would you, how would you recommend people go about it? Would you say, maybe a small business loan would be the way to go? Obviously, having been in this business for a long time, you might have some different experience with private lenders, but how would it work for someone maybe new looking at a laundromat?
It's tough, man. It really is tough. I don't know about SBA if they would even touch it because it's a long time frame and it's really hard to project your income. If I was to do it again, we have another one that is under contract on a building. So hopefully that will go through for new laundromat. But my goal for this one is I'm going to do a bank loan on the purchase so I can keep some of my capital for the build out. And you can get equipment. You can get equipment loans. They're not great terms though. That problem. Okay. Yeah. So when I originally did mine, I paid for the building and I paid for the build out myself. So I was like, all right, I got to finance these machines. It was $200,000 of machines. It's not cheap. So it's like, how am I going to do this? So I started looking around. Northwestern does it. But when I talked to them, they were like, yeah, it's going to be, we'll give you an 8-year term. It's 9.5% interest. So the payment was like $4,000 a month on $200,000. It just didn't make sense. No. So I went to our lender and I was like, hey, you want to put a mortgage on the property for the $200,000, you can finance this and I'm going to refi you out. And it's 1/3 of the cost. So that's the way I did it there. With the new one, I'm going to probably put a bank loan on the purchase. And then I'm going to try to go through C&B. I know they will do equipment financing as well, but they are very thorough, let's say, on the front end in terms of what they want to see. So they want to see a breakdown per month of your income for the first 2 years, which is, when they told me that, I was like, man, that's too much work. I don't want to do it.
Right.
Now I have a better idea, is because I had no idea. I'm like, how the hell am I ever going to project that? Now that I've seen it, I can actually kind of build an Excel format and lay it out based on what I've already done. So it should be a little bit easier.
What do the machines have to make? Like, right. So like, let's say you bought, so if these machines are $200,000 and that's over what is that? You said 10 machines or 16 machines?
It's 7 22-pounders. So we got 7 and 4 is 11, and 3 is, we have 14 washers and 16 dryers.
Okay. Do you know, because this isn't real estate, right? So now this is business. This is a different business. But do you have like an idea of like, all right, if a machine costs 10 grand, they really need to make X amount a month? Like, do you break it down to like, each machine really needs to be putting X amount out? Because, you got the water costs, all these different things are in, like, what should someone be looking for if they're like, all right, if I'm going to buy this $10,000 machine, it should make X amount a month? What are those numbers? And clarify, because I'm obviously don't know what I'm talking about. I'm thinking I'm thinking out loud of, I buy a machine, I need it to make X a year.
So the national average for turns, so everything's based on turns. Like, how many times is that machine running per day? Yeah. Which is the turn. The national average is 2.5 turns a day. So the way you figure it out is very simple. You figure out what you're going to charge for a machine. You make an Excel spreadsheet. You say, okay, these are the machines that I'm going to have in here. I'm going to project that these are going to turn 2.5 times, or I usually do like 1.5 to 2 times a day, and say, what is my bottom line? What am I making gross? And then from there, you're just going to extract out, your water, your RG&E, the basic stuff. If you're putting in new machines, the water is really not that much. It doesn't cost that much because they're very high efficient machines. Like my South Plymouth one, my RG&E bill is like $160 a month.
Wow.
So it's pretty low. They're very high efficient. They run well. But yeah, that's how you break it down. And
there's a lot of machines in that one, like a lot of really nice, really big machines. So that sounds like a really good deal.
And the goal, if you're going to open up a laundromat, is you want big machines. Everybody that uses a laundromat goes and uses the big machines. Like our 65 pounders, when I open up the coin box on, they're full. And then I'll go over to our little 22 pounders. There's like $10 in there. Everybody wants them, the big machines. And that's what makes it tough, because there's a lot of people out there that have smaller laundromats, and they, if somebody comes into that area with a bigger machine, it kind of runs you out of business.
Wow. Interesting. And now, wouldn't it be simpler just to buy laundromats that are already functioning, or is it the juice worth the squeeze on developing, because now you kind of have the know-how? But like, for a beginner, what would you say? If you could have done it again, would you, hey, it was good, I'm glad I got punched in the face a few times, I learned so much? Or what would you do? What would you say to people?
Yeah, it's going to be easier for people who are beginners and that don't have as much money to try to buy a laundromat. And the reason why that is because you can go to a bank and say, hey, I'm buying this building, it comes with this business, and it's making X. It's going to be way more intriguing to the bank to fund that, versus, hey, I'm going to buy a building and I'm going to put this into it, and it's not going to be up and running for a year. Can you give me money? It doesn't sound the same. It's very difficult to buy a laundromat, though. Like, nobody wants to sell them. I've reached out to everybody in the area and nobody wants to sell them. And if they do, they want, ridiculous amounts of money. The thing with buying a laundromat, though, is you got to look at the age of the machines. Most of the ones in the city are very old machines, and like I said, it's very expensive to replace those. There's one in Penfield that I looked at. It was a rental, and I mean, I'm not kidding you, these machines were older than I was. They have duct tape holding the doors on and things like that.
Oh God.
It was wild. And she wanted an astronomical amount for that facility. But I mean,
does it crush?
She brings in $8,000 a month. Yeah. So, I mean, it's a good deal, but I mean, you're paying rent, which was going to go up to like $4,000 a month. So, and then you got to put in $300,000 in machines. Doesn't make sense, right?
It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
No, you got to make money. You got to make money like, sooner than, 7 to 10 years down the road.
Exactly. And you can't refi that out, right? Well, you buy this, you put all the machines in there. There's your money's stuck in that facility until you get it all back. Because you don't own the real estate. So, but if I was a beginner and I could find somebody that wanted to sell, it is a good way to go if you can buy it, because all your utilities are there. They're ready to go. And then if you don't have enough money to go buy a new machine, let the facility pay for it. Don't take a cut, buy it for, $400,000 or $500,000. If it's bringing in $8,000 a month, save that money up, buy a new machine, and then do it again and over again and over.
That's
so that
a great
way
of doing that.
Exactly. You don't have to have the money. You're putting brand new machines. You're going to get more business. They're going to be much more efficient. It's going to cut down on your utility bills, and you don't have to come out of pocket on it.
What are the machines to buy? Like, what's the best quality? Is it just you find them on Lowe's? Is it Home Depot?
No.
Where do you find these things?
I can tell you, don't ever buy a Maytag washer in your life, because I have them now, and I have been fighting with Maytag for the past 4 months.
Oh, Jesus.
It's been since day one. I have had issues. If it wasn't for the washing machines, I would be there once a week, which is ideal. And that's to clean out the machines and collect the money. But these freaking machines are such a pain in the ass. So I'll never buy them again.
What's the problem with them?
Their design of their door lock is all screwed up on their bigger machines. So their smaller ones, the 22 pounders, work fine. But the 65 pounders and the 40 pounders, essentially it has a prong that goes into a hole that has teeth. But when you open the door, the teeth don't open. So the next person that uses that machine, the door doesn't close. And they can't run the wash. You got to go over there. You got to pop the prong. It's such a pain in the ass. And it's been happening for 4 months. So don't get me started with it. I'll be here all day. Don't get me started.
It's like, I just need you to do the one thing. The guy wants to just open the door and shut it.
All I want are machines that work properly. That's all I'm asking. It's not like I'm asking a lot. I paid a lot of money for these machines. Come on. So the next one, I'll probably put Electrolux machines in them. And that's just something you reach out to the representative, one of their reps. They'll come out and they'll get you a quote on them.
Is there a money-making opportunity with also then supplying the different, like the laundry detergent and the what kind of what does that look like? I mean, is it anything real serious, or is it just kind of like an add-on? And by the way, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't really move the needle much.
Yeah, I mean, when you're dealing with laundromats, right? Every quarter counts, because all of your business is through quarters. So anything that you can increase your bottom line is what you want to do. So for us, we have the soap machines. We buy the soaps for 50 cents. We sell them for $1.25. It's not like it's a crazy, it doesn't sound like a lot, but when you're doing volume, that adds up quickly, right? That's over 100% markup. So things like that, ATM machines where you take a cut. I know Jeremy Fisher does that. Vending machines, same thing. If you can take a cut, those things add up. Wall space.
Yeah, they do.
Jeremy sells his wall space, which is a great idea. So he'll have somebody. So essentially somebody will come in and they'll advertise and put a poster up on his wall, and they'll write him a check every year for doing that. He rents the wall space, which is super smart. It's a great way to do it.
I just want to rent wall space. That's all I want to do.
Just rent wall space.
All I want to do is billboards. If you could get into that business, that would be the best.
Yeah. It's very smart. So, but any income is what you're looking for. Because like I said, you're literally dealing with quarters all day. Right.
So dealing with quarters all day, but what about using credit card machines? How does that work? Is that one of the things that you would want to do, or how do people do you have to use quarters, or can you go with the credit card machines, or how's that all look?
Yeah. So in the city of Rochester, you typically want an option for both, just because not everybody uses credit cards in the city of Rochester. Suburb is a little bit different. You can get away with just a card machine. I know the one in Brighton is only card, so there's no quarters there. The one in East Rochester is a similar setup, but I believe he takes both. We use PayRange which is an app that allows you to use a credit card or a debit card. And the reason why that is because the machines that you put on the credit card readers that you put on the machines are very expensive. Each unit is like $700.
Wow.
So times that by 7 machines, that's a pretty good penny. And not only that, they charge you like $30 or $40 a month, and there's a transaction fee on top of that. So it adds up really quickly. And I just didn't want to go down that road. So PayRange, essentially it's a mobile app that uses Bluetooth. You wire in a little harness into the machine, and it can detect that harness. So you load the app with a credit card, and you put $25 on the app, and then it will detect the machines, and you just slide it and it will start the machine. So it allows you to use a credit card on the bigger machines without having to put the card reader on there, and it's a fraction of the cost.
Wow. That's awesome, because I feel like that's probably the future, or that's the
100%.
way people are going, right? I mean, not everyone has quarters anymore, and the quarter machines break, and it's probably just another thing to have to fix, which, by the way, who can fix these things, right? If something breaks down, is that just networking to find people that fix machines like that? I mean, is it plumbers? Like who fixes those things?
So Maytag uses CSC, which is a company that does all their maintenance. They're kind of a pain in the ass. And that's, from what I understand, no matter what brand you go with, the hardest part is getting customer service to send somebody out. They've been decent about it, but I'm literally calling them every other day because of the machines. That's probably different with different machines. You wouldn't have as much calls, but there's also local guys that are certified to work on them. And that's just through networking. You find them.
Yeah. I was going to say, because we have in the apartment building CSC, and it's brutal. It's so hard. And even though we say clearly we don't own these machines, it doesn't always come back on management that, we're the scumbags who are not fixing the machines. But the good news is those are all getting brand new in February.
What brand?
I don't know. I probably should find out that it's not Maytag.
Don't put Maytags in there. I'm telling you right now, don't do it.
I'll email our CSC rep and ensure that it's not a Maytag. She's like, yeah, they're already on their way, honey.
So how does that work? How does that split work?
Yeah,
with that machine.
So it was when we bought the building, there was an agreement, and it's the laundries in 2 of the buildings, or in each building. And there's probably 10, let's say 5 washers, 5 dryers in the one building. And then there's probably 3 and 3 in the other one. So they had, these are probably about 20-year-old machines.
Yeah, they're all top loaders.
Yeah, all top loaders. Yep. And they had a 50-50 split. But they're supposed to be in charge of all the maintenance and the headache, right? But it's really not been that way just recently. But they're coming in and they're going to redo everything with, credit card machines, the whole thing, to make it really, really simple. And this time, we have a contract with them for a 5-year contract, and then we get 60% and they get 40% for this one.
Nice.
I think that on paper, you could make a ton of money on these, because it's 79 units. So it's like, they're not going anywhere else to do their laundry other than that. But looking back, I probably just would have kicked them out and just done my own laundry. If it was going to be like this. Yeah.
I could have split it with you.
You know what I mean? If it was going to be as hard as it is anyway, but because they were already there and we didn't know anything, and we were just getting our hands on just, the tenants, that alone. So, but anyway, but CSC is a big freaking company. That's a big company.
Yeah. Based out of Pennsylvania.
They're nationwide, right? They do things nationwide.
Yeah, they do. Yeah. And it's a pain to get to. Do you talk to Sandy for your machines? You ever talk to Sandy?
No, but
I'll have to give you the number so you can get a hold of her. Yeah.
Yeah. I'll need her number.
Her and I are besties. We talk every other day.
With the Maytag problems you've had.
Yeah.
And it's not like their fault, right? That's just Maytag's
It's not their fault. That's just Maytag's fault. Yeah. And it's apparently a common thing. So they just refuse to fix it, apparently. So I don't know.
Yeah. So what's the next move? Are you looking at more laundromats? Or you're like, yeah, that's what I want. I don't want any more storage. I'm good on storage. Or is it, I'm looking at just good opportunities for both. What is it? What is it for you?
Good opportunities for both. I would love to build out some more laundromats. Like I said, I have a property under contract, so we'll see how that goes. But I love storage. It's super easy to manage. In terms of most passive investment is definitely storage besides lending money. I do love that. It's just they're hard to find, man. They're hard to find, and you need a lot of capital. That's the problem. Right now, I would love to get some stuff closed out. So we have a lot of flips that are just sitting that are, under contract to sell. They just won't sell. The laundromat we're refining, we're waiting for that money to come back. So once I have more, I'm going to probably build out the laundromat and would love to get some more storage. But like I said, they're hard to find. And I'm sure you did the calls for that for a while.
Yeah, they're still
brutal.
They're brutal. It's probably the hottest, I think, of all real estate is storage because of the ease or the simplicity. Nothing's easy, but it's a lot simpler to manage than it, obviously multifamily and all that. But yeah, I would say for those who are finding mixed use type properties and you think something might be a fit for a laundromat, talk to Ben. Ben would be happy to pay you a referral fee or a commission because that's what he needs right now. He needs mixed use type buildings, or if you know somebody that's got a laundromat that is maybe looking to retire and doesn't want the hassle anymore, maybe there's some sort of way Ben can work out. Like, how would that look, Ben? If someone's got something like that, is that something you're interested in?
Absolutely. Yeah. We can make anything work. So happy to pay for leads, mixed use buildings. The hard part is finding buildings with parking. You have to have parking for these things.
Right.
That's a huge draw. So if anybody has anything, let me know. We'll make something work.
Ben, that was very helpful. I know it's Friday. It's almost 5:00.
Yeah.
Probably time for a cocktail.
Maybe dinner first, but yeah, I'll take a cocktail.
No, Ben, anything you want to leave people with other than if they have anything sent to you?
Yeah.
Very helpful.
If they want to reach out and just talk shop, I'm more than happy to do that. So let me know, guys.
Ben's probably the easiest and friendliest guy to talk to. Come to the meetups. If you have questions on storage or laundromats, meet with Ben. Send him leads, send him deals. He'll send you cash.
Mm-hmm.
But with all that said, Ben, thanks for coming on, brother. I appreciate you.
Thank you for having me. Been waiting for the end.
It's been a while. We've got to do this again. As soon as the next one's bought and built out, I want to know how that goes.
Absolutely. I will let you know.
All right, brother. Thanks for coming on. I appreciate you. For everyone listening, that is the Marty Grisani Show with Ben Antonucci. Bye-bye.
Thank you for tuning into the Marty Grisani Show. If you're listening on Apple Podcast, leave us an honest rating and review. If you're on Spotify, make sure you follow us for weekly episodes.